The world changed forever on February 28th, 2026. This is the story of how a shadow war, fought for decades in the dark, finally exploded into open conflict and pulled the entire world to the brink. So, how did we get here? Well, an explosion this big doesn't just happen. To really understand the fire, you have to trace the fuse. And that fuse was lit a long, long time ago. It all started with a Western-backed coup back in 1953. That planted the first seeds of deep mistrust. Then came the '79 revolution, which turned that mistrust into open hostility. For years, it was a Cold War of sanctions and proxy fights. But the real turning point, 2018. The nuclear deal collapsed, sanctions came crashing back down, and by late 2025, with massive protests rocking the country, the Iranian regime was on shaky ground. That's when the US moved its warships into place. The stage was set. Diplomacy was dead. Washington laid down an ultimatum, one they had to know Tehran would never accept. Give up your nuclear ambitions, forever. Cap your missile program. Cut off your allies. Iran's response was clear. They rejected it all and promised that if they were attacked, they'd drag the entire Middle East into the fire. The lines were drawn in the sand. On February 27th, while flying on Air Force One, President Trump gave the final order. And just like that, the time for talk was officially over. The assault was meticulously planned. It hit from the air, from the sea, and from the shadows of cyberspace. The U.S. called it Epic Fury. Israel called it Roaring Lion. You had Tomahawks launched from ships, B-2 stealth bombers appearing out of nowhere. But there was another front, a silent one. Cyber attacks hit Iranian state TV and popular phone apps, flooding them with messages designed to turn the people against their own government. This was war in every single domain. And the arsenal they brought to bear, it was overwhelming. We're talking about the most advanced weapons in the Western world, precision missiles, massive bunker busters, and a whole new generation of low-cost attack drones. In just the first 24 hours, Israel alone dropped more than 1,200 bombs. The goal wasn't just to fight, it was to paralyze. But the number one goal was total, absolute air supremacy. The plan was to dismantle Iran's ability to even see what was coming, let alone fight back. And within hours, the skies over Iran's most heavily defended cities were wide open. It was a psychological blow just as devastating as any physical one. The military objectives were clear, but behind all this strategy and technology, there's always a price. And that price is always paid in human lives. Almost immediately, the reports started coming in from the ground. And the picture they painted was horrifying. Away from the military targets, in ordinary neighborhoods, life was just shattered. Human rights groups were able to confirm 742 civilians killed inside Iran in just the first 3 days. And everyone knew that was just the beginning. And the violence was never going to stay contained within Iran's borders. It couldn't. As Iran's allies were activated, Israel hit back at Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. And just like that, another 52 people were dead. The fire was already spreading. You know, when you look at the numbers after just 72 hours, you see it. The casualties weren't just in Iran. They spanned the entire region. U.S. personnel, Israeli civilians, military and civilians in Kuwait, the UAE, Lebanon. This wasn't some surgical strike. It was a contagion of violence, and it didn't respect any borders. And Iran? Well, they made good on their promise. Their response was swift, brutal, and it set the entire region on fire. Tehran didn't just hit back at Israel. It went after every single American ally in the Gulf. Think about that. Hundreds of missiles and attack drones streaking across the night sky, aimed right at the heart of U.S. military power in 6 different countries. And then, things started spiraling fast. Iran shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for about a fifth of the world's oil. Hezbollah opened up a second front on Israel's northern border. Civilian hubs like the airport in Dubai were getting hit. And in the absolute chaos of it all, 3 American fighter jets were shot down by friendly fire. The war was taking on a life of its own. By March 2nd, the whole thing had reached a point of no return. This wasn't a risk anymore. A regional war with truly global consequences was now a reality. The decapitation strikes had found their targets. The supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was dead. So were his top commanders for the Air Force, the Army, the ground forces. In all, 48 of the most senior figures in the Iranian regime were gone, creating a massive, catastrophic power vacuum right at the very top. And that's when the real panic started to set in. The US State Department issued its most severe travel warning ever, basically telling every American in over a dozen countries to get out now. It was a terrifying admission that nowhere in the region was safe anymore. So after just 3 days, this is where the world stood. Iran's leadership was gone, but a new council was already taking its place. The Strait of Hormuz was shut, sending oil prices through the roof. Global air travel was in chaos. Iran's nuclear program was crippled, yeah, but the knowledge, the know-how to rebuild it, that was still there. And the war, it had no off-ramp, no clear way to end. And that's the terrifying question world leaders are facing right now. The first shock and awe strikes might be over, but this new war, this war of attrition, has really just begun. And its consequences, they're going to ripple out for years. Every system you depend on, from the gas in your tank to the stability of the global economy, it's all more fragile now than ever before. But think about how easily this chaos can spill over. The same state-sponsored cyber weapons that were used to disrupt Iranian media can be turned against banks, power grids, or personal devices anywhere in the world. The digital front in this new war has no borders, and that brings the fight from the battlefield right into your home. How secure is your own digital life from that kind of chaos?